Welcome in the arena. My name's Allyson Klein, and we are coming to you from the OCP Conference in San Jose, California. This is another Data Insights episode, which means Jeniece Wnorowski is with me. How are you doing, Jeniece?
Oh, I'm doing well, Allyson.
So day 2 of recording. How are you doing? How's the energy level?
Day 2, energy's great. Just wrapped up lunch, so I'm super pumped.
So let's talk about what topic we're talking about in this episode and who you brought with you.
We have a cool topic, I have to say that, because we're going to talk about all things liquid cooling. Today, we have with us Midas, and sitting next to my left here is the CEO of Midas.
Wow, you really got the heavy hitter, didn't you?
Yes, we did. Welcome to the program, Scott.
Thank you, Jeniece. Happy to be here, and to keep the puns going, it is pretty cool to be up here talking with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
So why don't we just start with an introduction of Midas and how the company fits within the data center arena?
Yeah, so Midas provides immersion cooling solutions, but how we got to provide that solution was actually being a user of the technology. 2011, we were a small data center in Austin, Texas, and during the growth of our data center, we quickly became the go-to company to handle the hard-to-cool IT. That progressed to the need of a different cooling solution than our traditional air cooling, and we moved into immersion.
Wow.
So 2011 to 2012, quite a few iterations of the immersion solution, which ultimately resulted in our own built solution, which we patented, consumed, and utilized until 2016, when we strategically elected to leave the data center space and just become an IT infrastructure provider. And the rest, they say, is history of 4,000 tanks, but it was a good start.
Now, immersion cooling is a big topic here, as well as just liquid in general. But a lot of folks don't really understand immersion. Can you explain a little bit more in detail around what is single-phase immersion cooling?
Absolutely.
And how does it maybe even differ from, say, second phase?
Yeah, cool. So at the core, immersion is easy. The first thing that we do is we get the advantage of a liquid in the heat dissipation versus air. 1,200 times better is just a good, easy number to run with. So by moving from air cooling, which is just allowing a fan and surface area to cool the IT, and then putting into a liquid, we automatically jump to that 1,200 times better. So immersion is easy. Doing immersion well gets a little more difficult. We'll talk about that in a little bit in the future. But single phase immersion, there's two versions: natural convection, where we just let the heat difference between a cold plate or heat exchanger, think of an ice cube, and the IT creates natural convection. And then there's forced convection, which is where most of the industry is at today. We're actually using a pump to move the fluid by faster. So that is the single phase immersion. The other immersion out there is two phase, where the chemistry itself, the dielectric, changes state. It boils at a low temperature and provides the cooling.
Now, you've deployed thousands of these immersion tanks with your XCI systems. Tell us about what it was like as you matured the technology. What did you learn along the way?
So a very early learn was computational fluid dynamics is our friend. I'll say CFD for now on. But like air, how the fluid moves around heat generating device is key. So you need to have a uniform flow. You need to be able to get to the heat generating devices. You need to engage it with the dielectric and move it away constantly to keep it cool. And unfortunately, form factor always changes, whether it's 19-inch servers, A6 shoeboxes, 21-inch servers, 21-inch OCP servers, power supplies at one spot, GPUs at the other. So it's ensuring that the technology handshakes well with the form factor. That's been the most challenging. On the bright side, at the end of the day, it's only physics. So the physics can support the workload. We just have to fit the form factor into the physics box.
So, Scott, one of your key differentiators is actually reuse of the energy. Can you tell us a little bit more about how this just works and how the work you're doing with your systems, are more sustainable than other types?
Yeah, thermal recovery, heat reuse is near and dear to my heart. And there's not a better technology for that than immersion. So at the end of the day, when we turn energy into compute, we generate heat. It's just a natural function of that activity. In an air-cooled environment, we have to try to move that heat with air, very poor thermal conductor, and it moves and dissipates very quickly. In an immersion environment, we grab all that heat in a fluid. As mentioned, it already is 1,200 times better at grabbing it, but the another benefit is that it holds on to it longer. So we're able to transfer that heat efficiently and then ultimately move it through the system and handshake with other thermal needing elements. I just left a meeting here at OCP on a German district heating facility that a large data center is getting next to. And that's a prime use case. In Europe especially, district heating is how a lot of homes are heated. So they automatically have a boiler and move hot water around. If we're able to bring them water at 50 degrees C, basically for free, it helps the whole, all of the energy consumption farther down the line. We've already paid for the energy once when we've created the IT, the bytes or the qubits. So at that point, why not use it again? And that's where thermal recovery is really useful.
Now, we're at OCP Summit. Folks are talking about a lot of direct chip or cold plate technology cooling, but compute densities are getting bigger, tighter all the time. What would you say is the tipping point where folks start looking at immersion, and how do you see this trend evolving over the next few years?
So it's between 100 kilowatts per rack. We use a tank, but everybody's familiar with the rack. 100 kilowatts per tank and up. Actually, on a ROI and total cost of ownership model, above 40 kilowatts is very, very strong. But for the necessity of immersion cooling to cool the IT, once we reach that 100 kilowatt, it's the advantages are extreme, and it doesn't take. With the rapid advancement of GPUs today, it will not take long to go from 100 to 200 to 300 kilowatts. While the physics state that DLC can still keep up cooling the chip, the GPUs, the peripheral of the server is going to create a great deal more heat, and that still has to be resolved with air cooling. So the power use efficiencies, the use of the cracks, the use of the air conditioning in the data center will elevate. And at the end of the day, whether it was the thermal recovery or the density of the IT itself, as we all are hearing a lot more today, the true constraint is the power. And we're going to have to get smarter on how we consume that power to keep up with the demand.
So being at this conference T-minus 2 years ago, we see a lot of immersion cooling on the floor. And we think automatically science projects, like who's actually using this, right? But fast forward today, it seems so much more realistic for folks to have these systems. But tell us a little bit more about what the prerequisites are to really deploy some of these things, and is it really turnkey ready?
So we'll start with some of the prerequisites. The prerequisites, the largest barrier that we've faced for 15 years now is I'm not going to put water on my data center floor. That was the data center operator of 2015 was adamant about that. And then we started seeing the deployments of rear door heat exchangers. Now we're seeing a rapid deployment of direct liquid to chip. While competing technologies, thank you for bringing water to the data center floor, because then that challenge has been resolved. Today, we are deploying many systems that are in direct DLC, direct liquid to chip halls, and tying into that existing water loop.
Sure.
So many of the data centers, especially ones that are focusing on machine learning and AI, they are building water loops into the facility. So that prerequisite is done. Then we need to start looking at the IT. At the end of the day, it's just quite a bit different. The main difference is we don't need fans. So we need to have the fans removed in the BIOS, acknowledge there are no fans. Thermal paste and fluids don't get along, so we replace that with another thermal median between the chip and the heat sink. beyond that, we are able to dunk. The advantage of getting, especially the fans off the board, we automatically cut down power usage. If we use a use case of a 1 kilowatt server, 150 to 200 watts of that rated power usage is on the fans. So we are able to complete the same amount of compute with that 1 kilowatt server for 800 watts. So that's just a quick example of some of the benefits. And now, as we start moving towards towards the future, we have companies like Solidigm that are actively embracing immersion, which is just outstanding. So as the world starts seeing where the direction is going and comes to support, these peripheral challenges now are luckily will be a footnote in the history books.
I love it. There's one thing I will say on that. We'll be at Supercompute in about 4 weeks, right? And we're going to show off one of these systems. It'll be your 12U, correct?
Correct. So at Solidigm booth at Supercompute, we're going to have a 12U that is actively running with some of their solid state drives. Midas will have a 25U that's utilizing, has some Solidigm technology in it and some GPUs. We'll also be showing off some of our maintenance suite, which isn't really exciting, but at the same time, during these 2 years of evolution that Jeniece had mentioned, we've gone from what is that and am I going to get electrocuted to how do I operate my data center? And part of that operation of an immersion data center is providing the tools. We're no longer rolling it out from a vertical rack, we're lifting it from the horizontal rack. So we've developed a server lifting mechanism that's completely dripless, allows it to have server service done on that site, as well as some other maintenance tools. So all of that will be available at Supercompute coming up in St. Louis quick.
Well, I guess I'm going to know where I'm going to go first in St. Louis. That's really cool. Scott, you have given us a very compelling reason to believe in immersion and the broad proliferation of it. But one thing that I haven't heard from you yet is why Midas?
So, a rising tide rises, lifts all boats, and the other folks in the industry really are stepped up and are doing a great job. But when you look at why Midas, I come back to being 6 years of utilizing the technology. There's a lot of elements in the technology that can become more user-friendly when you have to use it yourself, and that's the Midas system. I recently deployed a system at a university in the UK, CEO with a pipe wrench, but literally had that system up and going in 40 minutes. That's an advantage of a Midas. We had to maintain it ourselves, so we built it that way. Midas, we have a truly concurrent maintainability and fault-tolerant system. Everybody knows when I say cooling distribution unit, so a CDU, a redundant Midas tank comes with two. A year ago today, I had hired my global sales manager, John Griffith. Did not bring him to OCP, put him on a training video that we built in-house. And with an hour of education, and this was being behind the camera, he was able to change out hot swap a CDU in 7 minutes.
Wow.
That none of the other players in the arena can get that done. So with the Midas system, in short, fault tolerant, 2N+1, and we never have to work on the immersion system in the white space. 4 quick connects, 1 Cat5, 1 power connection. We're able to hot swap, get the CDU that has a fault out to the gray space, and we're back up to 100% redundancy in 7 minutes.
Fantastic.
That's really the difference.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Scott. One final question for you.
Yeah.
I'm sure folks who are listening online want to talk to you further. Where can they go find out more information about this cool technology and engage your team?
So www.midasimmersion.com is the website. Easy to get connected through there. Obviously, you can look myself or John Griffith up on LinkedIn. Massively active on LinkedIn. The phone number and contact information is there. Just jump on board. That's all we can say.
I think my key takeaway is ready to dunk from this. That was the key message, and I love that. Thank you so much to both of you. And Jeniece, this wraps another episode of Data Insights. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Allyson. Thank you,
Thanks,
Scott.
Allyson. It's great to be here.